Hello, movie mavens. Welcome back to another video on the B Movies channel. My name is Bailey, and I put the B in B movies. This week, even though I'm very sad that spooky season is officially over, we're into November, I am really excited because there's a cold front in Texas right now, and so even though my sweet precious Halloween is done for another year, I'm getting to wear sweatshirts and beanies and berets and leggings, and so it kind of makes up for the fact that Halloween is over. So I hope that all of you had a wonderful Halloween. Thank you so much to everyone who watched our special video on Tuesday. And I'm so excited to just be back for yet another video that's part spooky, part not spooky. And just thank you so much for being so supportive during this Halloween season. I know I said it on Tuesday, but we had a lot of really good views. We had a lot of really good comments. Like I said, Vintage 8 found us and commented. And so I just really want to say thank you to everyone for all the support for the first annual B Movies October content marathon. So we have a jam-packed video today, and I'm so excited because, like I said last time, we're going to be talking about the new Project Earth, which as of now is the penultimate episode. There's only one more episode coming out December 22nd, as of now. Alex Bale released the finale of Don't Feed the Muse, which I'm so excited to talk about because it's so good. It's just so good, and I can't wait to gush about it here shortly. We also, surprisingly, got a Midwest Angelica Act 2 trailer on Halloween, which I'm very excited to talk about. It's not a lot, but the simplicity is the beauty of it, and I think there's a lot of foreshadowing of what's to come in the next act, and I'm just very excited. And we're also going to do a deep dive on Horror Host today. And so we have a jam-packed video. I'm so excited to talk about everything with y'all. So to kick us off, let's do our blog roundup. So on Monday, we talked about Horror Hosts. I love this piece. It's a little different than our usual because we know that when I review movies and I talk about pop culture, I tend to throw my own personal narrative in. And this is a little bit reverse engineered where we talk about the mechanics first and then I get into my feelings about it. And I don't know. I just really love this piece, and my family heirloom VHS piece are probably two of my favorite pieces that we did for our October content palooza. And I am so excited to do a deep dive with y'all today. On Tuesday, we talked about what Halloween means to me. We talked about this piece in our special Halloween video on Tuesday. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched it, by the way. I've gotten some really good feedback from everyone, and thank you to people who were also who have also been in my position of having like a last minute Halloween costume not work and then pulling something out that they feel super confident in. Thank you to everyone that has been in that position. Appreciate you so much. On Wednesday, we talked about Sarah Michelle Gellar. We did a spotlight on Revenge Mommy. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. We talked about this in the piece. I grew up with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Cruel Intentions is one of my favorite movies. Even her as Daphne, she's had Scream 2, all of these iconic roles, and she's such an icon, and she just deserves all the praise. Yesterday we talked about Election, which it's one of those 90s gems where like Pete and Pete, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which Tad Ghostal will come back up in a little bit actually. But it's so 90s, and there's just this charm and endearing quality to it that it just can't be replicated. And so I figured it's not an election year next year, which is already terrifying me. But I thought that November was the perfect time to revisit Election. It's also, I think, 25 years old this year, 24, 25, which is wild. 24, because it came out in 99. And so we talk all about Election. And then today we're talking about Waitress, which is a quintessential November movie for me. I just equate it's like Gilmore Girls or You've Got Mail, where it's just something about it. It just has this fall tonality to it. But I love this movie. I also, please know, as someone with personal experience with some of the topics in the movie, I don't take those lightly. And I would give a trigger warning and a content warning if you are triggered by domestic violence, abuse, and things of that nature. This may not be the piece for you. And I just wanted to give you that heads up now. So, with those particulars out of the way, and just to reiterate, for those who don't know, you can find all of these pieces over on bmovies.blog. Everything, my Instagram, Elliot's Instagram, the bmovies channel Instagram, which is just bmovies channel, same as our YouTube, everything is always in the description box below. So if you just want to do a quick copy and paste, or you forget, or you just want to double check your spelling, I'll do that all the time. Everything is in the description box below, always. And I will always link the videos and channels, and everything that we discuss here will always be linked below. Please subscribe to those channels. Please watch those videos. I know Baz has a good thing he's doing right now where while he's watching a video or discussing a video, he encourages you to watch it and you can put it on mute. Just please give these creators their due, because there is some phenomenal content on YouTube. And again, say it with me, but the future of horror is YouTube. And these creators deserve all of the subscribers, all of the views, everything they can possibly get. So please, when I link their channels below, please subscribe. Please go watch those videos. That's part of the reason, honestly, why I haven't been adding the videos in, because I feel like it's one, we're still learning how to edit. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But secondly, I just feel kind of weird with how much commentary I give also adding their video in. So please go like, subscribe, comment, and just build up their content, because it all deserves it. I promise. So we did tease Bite Size Sunday on Tuesday, but I wrote another teaser as well just because I wanted to give you a little extra, because there's a big gap from Tuesday to Sunday. And so this teaser, it's the same piece of content, is clowns, cults, and camera shaking. Oh my. For those who don't know, Bite Size Sunday reviews live exclusively on our Instagram. They don't go on our actual site. And I give the teaser every Friday exclusively on YouTube. So the teaser's not on our Instagram. It's not in our coming attractions every week. When I do the blog roundup on Instagram, when I do our coming attraction teasers and the emojis, it's not teased there. It's only teased here. So one more time, it's clowns, cults, and camera shaking. Oh my. So that will be this week's Bite Size Sunday. Just as a reminder, Saturday blogs were only for October. So for the foreseeable future, and probably until next October, we will be doing our regular Monday through Friday content with Bite Size Sundays. So just if you're looking for a piece on Saturday, it was just for the spooky season, because we had so many ideas, and we were already, to be very honest, we're already planning for next year. And so Saturday reviews will be suspended until next October. But we will have our regular Monday through Friday on the blog. I post, for those who don't know, I post daily to our Instagram, and the links are always in our stories. The link to the main blog is always in our bio. And then on Friday, I do a blog roundup, so you can see everything we talked about throughout the week, and get a teaser for what's ahead for the following week. So, with all of the housekeeping out of the way, this is, again, I'm pumped for this video, because this is like a super packed bonanza of content. So, to get us started, let's talk about the Midwest Angelica trailer with the year 1991 in it. So I am pumped. Downright giddy, you could say. So there is classical music blasting in the background. In my head, I thought it was Ode to Joy. It's not Ode to Joy. I know what it is, but the name has just escaped me. So classical music is blaring in the background as we see some sort of missile is launched. And there's this giant crater and fire and explosion. You know, like a big, it's in 91, so think like Terminator, big action-y sequence. And then out of the crater crawls one of those nasty creatures like we've seen before, like in the video where that guy gets attacked when he has the flamethrower. And then a message flashes that says all is right in the world. And then we're met with the Home Delta logo. And we know Act 2 is coming soon. And it's 45 seconds, I think. It's like 45, 50 seconds. But basically, how we left off Act 1, I think it's clear that this thing is spreading. This infestation is inevitable. And I don't quite know if home is safe anymore. I'm not 100% sure that home is the same home that we left back in Act 1. So I'm so excited. I'm going to also link to the Midwest Angelica Patreon, because at the end of the trailer, they thank all of us for watching and that the Patreon really helps them with this project. So I'm going to link the Patreon in the video description below as well. If you can, please donate to keep this going. It's just such a wonderful analog horror series, and I really want to see the creators to be able to expand this content and just continue creating in general. So Midwest Angelica Act 2 is coming. I feel like it's probably to be sooner rather than later. I'm excited. And I'll also link our video where we did the full breakdown of Midwest Angelica so you can give it a watch to prepare yourself for the upcoming Act 2. We do a video by video breakdown of the entire series thus far of Act 1. So you can watch it and get fully prepped and then watch the trailer, and then you should be ready for Act 2. I'm so excited. And as always with this, with Project Earth, Alex Bale, I don't think that we will be revisiting the MUSE, but with his future stuff, like I always say, we will talk about all of these things. So the next Greylock video, which surprisingly, I was waiting. I was like, Rob, I'm ready, because we talked about the other one, but no Greylock yet, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's probably coming soon. So next up, let's talk about Project Earth. Boy, oh boy. I really, really, really hope that the episode coming out in December is not the last episode, because there is so much to unpack, and I think that there is so much that Barry could do with this series, and so I really hope that this is not the next to last episode, and if it is, Barry, please make more content. Please make more content. This is so well done and so innovative, and it's another one of those series that there's nothing I can compare it to. So, first and foremost, we find out his name is Subject 84, which is telling, and we will see why just momentarily. So Greg is being interrogated by who I think is the same person who usually does the opening narration of the videos, like, meet Greg Sellers. I think it's that same person, at least to me it sounds like that same person. I could be mistaken, but that's who I think this person is. We don't see their face, we just see the back of them. I think they're the same person. We learn that Greg's headaches are persisting, and this person interrogating him is asking him about the headaches. And we find out that Greg's being held hostage. He's being held in the basement of Terra Nova. And the gentleman tells him, like, he can leave as soon as he answers his questions. We then find out that not only are the Gregs from the other episodes, like the one who becomes the drama teacher and director, the one who's the ghost hunter with Christine, the one who's president, they're also being held at Terra Nova. And their interviews are all cut together. They all saw the bright light that we saw in Run. That bright light where Greg's the astronaut. And we get introduced to even more Gregs, which are delightful. There's like a pirate Greg. There's a clown Greg. There's sock puppet Greg, which is my personal favorite. And then we get a distorted version of the regular Meet Greg Sellers intro. And he's described as scared and trapped instead of, your boring average. I think it's boring average or boring regular man. And then the video glitches. and we're met with scientist Greg. He claims his reality is an extension of Earth 3.0, where Greg was president. And this scientist, Greg, his dad was killed in a car wreck when he was young. He became like a science, like, wunderkind, basically. And he has successfully been traveling through the multiverse. And he drops a bombshell on us, which is that Terra Nova is not finding these realities, as it's been told to us throughout the series. They are shaping these realities. So Terra Nova is creating all of these splintered realities, and he even claims that they killed his father. There was no car crash, in order to construct this reality. And the purpose seems to be for entertainment. Yeah, let that sink in for a moment, because I audibly gasped. I watched this video 3 times so that I could take my notes, and I always, when I am researching for the video, my first viewing is just like purely me watching, and then my next 2 are for notes. I gasped all 3 times because it's still just fully, it kept sinking in differently. So we then cut to the hallway of Terra Nova, and I think it's Barry doing the narration based on, we haven't met Barry, but he has been, we've heard his voice based on some things on the site. And so I think it's Barry making this announcement, and Barry's also in the basement. Based on the comic that we've seen, I believe Barry's also stationed in the basement. He announces that there's a level 5 alert, and from the ground up and inward, the whole hallway is just encased in darkness. And it just begins overtaking the hallways, and there are screams, and I mean, it's just like, it's void. So then we cut back to scientist Greg, who tells us, again, he's here to just drop bombshells, baby. He tells us that Terra Nova didn't invent ice. They found it. And this leads me to believe that this is where the Barry comics come in, because Barry had been noticing in those comics that they were becoming sentient and everything. So I think this is how they're tied together. I think that Barry found it, or it was given to Barry, and then it, by extension, given to Terra Nova. And I think that they didn't create this. Scientist Greg tells us that they found it, or were given to it by someone or something. So that's my theory. So then we cut back to Greg, and I would also like to, one thing before we move on really quick. The same splintering on the screen matches the website. So like while Scientist Greg is talking, there are like cracks in the screen. So I think Scientist Greg may be the one who is responsible for all the activity on the website too. That's my theory there. So we cut back to Greg Sellers as we know him, the Subject 84, the Greg Sellers from the videos, and he's pounding on a door to be released because he's in an interrogation room. They've all been locked in interrogation rooms. And so the door and Greg began to shrink and shrink and shrink and sink to the bottom of the screen until it's barely visible. And the video ends with the regular interview setup of the white background and the chair that's empty. And we just hold on that for a couple seconds until the video ends. And I screamed. I am gagged. I'm so excited. I can't wait to. If this is the conclusion, I more than understand that. I respect that. But also, again, Barry, if you want to expand this, or if you have more ideas for content, please give them to us, because you are so good at this. You are so good at this, my friend. If you ever see this, kudos. You've created something that I have no comparison for. So there are also some updates on the website, so definitely check it out, especially the terminal stuff, because I'm not 100% sure when it was updated, but I don't remember seeing some of the content that you can now search for. So definitely look there. If you haven't read the latest blog post, definitely read that, because we're led to believe Tom is the one who's been messing with the videos. I don't necessarily know if I believe that. I don't know. If I'm It's one of those times where I'm like, am I just thinking too much? Or is Tom a red herring and scientist Greg is actually doing this? We're going to find out. So, like I said earlier, episode 6 is currently slated to come out December 26th, and I can't wait. I'll get our blog linked up in the description box below. Since I was sick and it just threw everything off, I will get those updates posted in the blog, and we'll get that up ASAP, but I'll go ahead and link it below because it does have everything from episode 5. And y'all, please subscribe to Barry's channel, like these videos, because this is phenomenal. I'm again, it's one of the ones like, excuse me, that's so gross. This Greylock, this and Greylock and Midwest Angelica right now are the big 3 that have me on the edge of my seat. And it's just so phenomenally done. So kudos, Barry. You're a wonderful creator, my friend. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. So next up in the jam-packed video of updates, because we all love Halloween, and I'm so excited that all of our analog horror creators do too. Next, we have the long-awaited finale, which I don't say that, like, Alex, if you ever see this, please don't take that as I was impatient. I've just been looking forward to this for a very long time. We have the long-awaited finale to Don't Feed the Muse, Don't Feed the Muse 3. And I'm just, first of all, I am blown away by the amount of detail and the attention to detail that Alex Bale gives. Because when he's in the theater, when he meets the older version of himself, and we'll dive into things, but I'm going to start with the little details up top. The Tiny Tim song, Living in the Moonlight, that plays in the pilot of SpongeBob is playing, that's the music playing in the background of the theater. It's how Alex always wears a yellow top and brown pants. It's how the man and Alex are wearing suspenders like SpongeBob. The jellyfish music is playing in the party scene. It's just these little details. The David Lynch films on the movie marquee, because there are a lot of parallels between Lynchian cinema and this video. It just, Alex, like, good God, man. It's perfect. And for people like me, that continuity and Easter eggs and the fine details, like, that's what I live for. Just golly. So for those who are not caught up, I'm going to link the piece below. But we covered this long before we started doing YouTube, so I'll cover any updates. But maybe we'll go back eventually, but there's so much to talk about. So this ARG, the Don't Feed the Muse RG, includes Happy Meat Farms, The Cynical Critic, Conspiracy Carl. All of these channels started popping up, as well as Alex's content started deviating to these SpongeBob conspiracy theory videos. And at the end of these videos, / sometimes throughout these videos, there would be clips to this ARG. And so the story is, there's a big alien entity named Mother who landed on the farm where Happy Meat Farms is. Happy Meat Farms, they're doing human experimentation. There's a lot of, they're sending out meat, but they're doing a bunch of human experimentation. There's assimilation, just your gnarly alien stuff. And so Alex, one of his friends, winds up giving him this Muse, which is this like blobby entity that lives in the basement. And as long as you feed it, it was giving Alex video ideas in little messages in a bottle, which is also SpongeBob related, clearly. And so the bad news is the Muses are also part of this alien entity, and that's how Mother was assimilating. And so, long story short, the Muses were very bad news. But you had to, like, it kept asking you to do things, and one of them was to find someone else to give a Muse to. And so it just was a very gnarly situation. And this is all culminated in Don't Feed the Muse 3, which is the finale, where Alex actually gets eaten by his Muse doppelganger. And so this takes place within Alex's mind / this alternate reality. And Alex is just trying to make his way home and defeat the Muse so that, he can go back to being Alex and that he can survive and live his life and not just be completely devoid of all details about himself. And so throughout the film, because it's I believe 35 minutes long. So throughout, I'm going to draw a very bold comparison here, but to me it's very reminiscent of Bo Burnham's Inside, because it's a career retrospective of Alex. When he is the old man in the movie theater, he's watching his earliest YouTube videos. It's just very introspective, and it's a career retrospective, and to me, it's a horror version of Bo Burnham's Inside. And we all know how much I love Bo Burnham, and I will die on that hill. That this reminds me a lot of Bo Burnham's Inside, but horror. And so if you haven't watched it yet, I won't spoil it. But I think that the ending is slightly open to interpretation. Alex did say this is the end of this particular project, but I don't necessarily know if this is the last we've seen of Mother based on the end of this video. I love that we get a wrap up with the Cynical Critic, with Conspiracy Carl, with all of these characters that have been throughout. We get to see them one last time. We also get to see the outline of Mother, and you definitely don't want to mess with Mother. And I can't rave about it enough. Watch all of the other videos. There are a lot of YouTubers who have done deep dives on this series. There's a whole linked in our piece. There's a whole Google Doc that is solely dedicated to all of the videos that live within this series, all of the websites, everything. Because this series, Alex in the closing credits, it's taken over 2 years, and it's very obvious that it was done with so much passion and so much attention to detail and so much effort. And Alex also announces he's working on a movie. And for the second time in this video, I will say YouTube is the future of horror. The future of horror is YouTube. They are synonymous. This is where horror is headed, because you are getting all of these creators who are so innovative and so talented, but don't necessarily have those big resources yet. But if this is what they're doing with the resources they have access to, can you imagine? It's like Kane Pixels with the back rooms. It's, Raka Raka with Talk to Me. Once you hand over the keys to the kingdom to these creators, it's going to revolutionize some horror, if not the whole genre. So I can't wait for his movie. I truly can't wait for his movie. And that's all I have to say. I will link this video below. But watch out, because Alex also did, if you haven't watched Pizza Time Pizza rules. Alex has just been in this game for years, and he's always been kind of a cult creator, but he's really started to make these bigger splashes over the years. And Alex, if you ever see this, as a writer, I bow down to your storytelling. I bow down to your attention to detail and just your overall contributions in the horror space. I can't wait to see what you do next. And you are so immensely talented. Really. And I know that you don't know me, but everyone watching this, I'm a huge Bo Burnham fan. Man, this was like watching a horror inside. It was that's the best comparison I can draw, and please know that is a huge compliment coming from me. So that is Don't Feed the Muse 3. That's the finale. I know that I didn't go in depth, as in much depth as I did with Project Earth and everything, but that's just because we've never covered it on the channel. And I think that this is worth watching, at the very least, all the parts of Don't Feed the Muse. But there's so much to dive into. I went on like a whole Sunday rabbit hole on this, and several months ago. And so please like Alex's video, subscribe to his channel, turn on all notifications, because Alex is going to make a big splash. Because he already is, and I can't even imagine with a feature film how it's going to go. So, that is Don't Feed the Muse 3. So now, let's do our deep dive about horror hosts. So, first of all, I just want to take a moment up top to give homage to Vampira. Because she started all the way back in 1954, she only broadcast for like a year. And without her, I don't know what the horror host entity would look like, or even if they would exist at all in the iteration that we know them to. So, Vampira, again, bowing down. So then after Vampira, you have the likes of like Ghouliardi, who, for some reason, I keep second guessing myself on this, but I am 99% sure Ghouliardi is Paul Thomas Anderson's dad. If that is incorrect, someone tell me. But I'm 99% sure that when he was on WTF with Marc Maron, he said that. But now I keep second guessing myself. And so if I'm wrong, it is fine to correct me. So then in the 70s, I feel like there was, like, Vampira was definitely camp, but it was a drier camp. But I feel like in the 70s is when we really started seeing this big evolution with, like, Sir Cecil Creep, Svengoolie, Count Gordeval, all of these, like, super humory, campy horror hosts. And I feel like that's when the switch kind of flips, is in the 70s. And then in the 80s, we get Joe Bob Briggs, we get Elvira, which, like, that's when the Mystery Science Theater 3000 gang starts. And I know that they're a little bit different than a traditional horror host, but I still consider them to be in this category. Because yes, they are riffing on movies, but they are still showing all of these old movies. And they have the bits and the segments, and so I consider them to fall into this category. They may be in a little bit of a subcategory, but I consider them to be in this category. And so throughout the 80s and 90s, these were the big horror hosts. Like Svengoolie's been around again since for like 40 years. I think he just celebrated his 40th anniversary this year or last year. You have Joe Bob Briggs, Elvira, and the horror hosts. They lived in harmony for several years, except for we'll get to the Elvira stuff in a minute. I know that some people are probably like, Elvira got a raw deal. She did. We will talk about that in a moment, I promise. And so for the 80s and 90s, we had like these horror hosts. Like, I don't know about you, I grew up watching Monster Vision, fully every Saturday on TNT. And then horror hosts just faded away. Television changed, programming changed, streaming evolved. And then in 2017, Mystery Science Theater 3000 came back. And then in 2018, Joe Bob Briggs hosted a 12-movie, 24-hour marathon that broke the Shudder server multiple times, which he has done multiple times since, because the viewership was so high. And so then all of these people started to say, wait a second. Is what America needs in these trying times a horror host? And the answer was yes. Svengoolie is now syndicated. And so all of these horror hosts started slithering back out of the woodwork. And like, look at Joe Bob Briggs. They're on, is it season 6 or 7 of The Last Drive-In? He's touring and he's doing all of these talks. He's hosting all of these movies. You know, you have Elvira is a cultural icon. She is one of the most, and I would say, even outside of horror, one of the most universally recognized pop culture figures. Mystery Science Theater 3000, I know that people are going to argue with me on whether or not they count. I'm counting them. They've been around for so long, they're starting their own streaming service. And so it's this legacy that has lived on and that got to come back. And there are so many things from our childhood and like this nostalgia that we yearn for. But the horror hosts, we get to have those again. They've made this huge resurgence. And so now, the one thing I do want to talk about, because I talk about the movies, I know I still want justice for Elvira. I know she's done the 13 Days of Halloween. I know that they brought her out for stuff. You know, Shudder gave her the 40th anniversary special. But, you know, she only got 2 movies, one of which was only made by a major studio, because I don't think Elvira's Haunted Hills, I think it was very, very, very low budget. Well, I know it was very low budget, but I don't think it was like released in the same manner as Elvira Mistress of the Dark. I just listened to the if you don't listen to Development Hell, they actually just did an episode where they interview Elvira a little bit, and she talks about one of the movies that if anyone came along, like if Blumhouse walked up to her today, the movie that she would want to make. And I do think she got a raw deal. I do. I think that she didn't get the same treatment for several reasons. I think she was a woman. I think she was very attractive. I think that when her book came out, we found out she's queer. And for her to have a female partner, if that was found out or that was hidden, I just think there are a lot of things. And I do think that she was given a raw deal. But we are still seeing some of that today. And the prime examples that I can think of are with Gwen Gooley and Darcy the Mail Girl. So for those who don't know, Darcy the Mail Girl was actually bullied on Shudder and because of her appearance. And Gwen Gooley, who is Sven Gooley, started this talent search a few months ago called Spawn of Sven Gooley, where they're just looking to add some cast members to just kind of shake things up. He's syndicated now, y'all. At least I think he's syndicated. I'm pretty sure he's syndicated. And I'm like, now I'm second guessing that. But like, he's more readily available at the very least than he was. He has been doing this for 40 years. And he just is looking for people to play off of him and expand this universe. And people are so mad about Gwen Gooley and calling her a knockoff and all of this really ridiculous stuff. And so there's still this weird, and I don't understand it, because horror as a genre was invented as an inclusive space. Horror as a genre provides social commentary, from George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, which is about racism, to Jordan Peele's Get Out and Nope, to, you know, I can think of a million movies, all the blaxploitation horror movies, indigenous horror. It's all to provide this social commentary. And this genre is designed for marginalized groups. And so I can't wrap my head around why women in horror are still viewed as less than, or are still viewed as not being worthy of a genre that was created for misfits and outcasts and marginalized groups like women, like the LGBTQI plus community, like minorities. I don't get it. So if you are one of these people who is ragging on Gwen Gooley, who is ragging on Darcy the Mail Girl, take a step back and remember what this genre is about and who it's for. Because I can assure you that they very much belong in this space. And P.S., like, Darcy the Mail Girl, I've met her a couple times. She's great. Gwen Gooley, like, a lot of these women that are, I don't know the exact terminology to use here, that assist horror hosts, that are on the shows with the horror hosts, they know just as much, if not more, as the men hosting. Truly. Like, Diana Prince knows so much about horror. I've never met, I think her name's Palmer, who is Gwen Gooley. I know her Instagram's at Pinup Palmer. Um, but she seems very knowledgeable about horror, and so that's the other thing is they've gotten these positions for a reason. And yes, it's because of how they play with the horror host, but they've gotten these positions because they know about horror. They know about this genre. They love this genre, and they want to share this experience with you. So, overall, just think twice before lashing out at female horror hosts or those that appear in the cast of horror host segments. Just think twice, because this genre was created as a safe haven. And I'm just going to leave it there, because I could talk about this all day long. But just long story short, stop. Don't be a jerk. Don't be insensitive. Like, give it a rest. But yeah, so now I'm off my soapbox. But for me personally, just the horror host, why I'm so passionate about these horror hosts and why I wrote this whole piece is horror hosts were so vital in shaping my sense of humor, shaping my love of pop culture, in helping insert that like thirst I have for pop culture and movie knowledge. And I just feel lucky that I got to watch Joe Bob Briggs, and like I continue to, I grew up with Elvira KP. That and the Halloween Tree were rented every single year at the beginning of spooky season. That, and she would get the big Kroger cookies with the royal icing and the Halloween scenes, and that was a tradition in my house. We watched Elvira every single year. I still watch Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, every single year. And I just feel really fortunate that I got to grow up with a lot of these horror hosts, or watching reruns, or watching them on YouTube. And I even got to grow up with things like Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which is very... In 2024, spoiler, I'm going to do a whole piece on Adult Swim. That's a whole thing, because Adult Swim horror, the infomercial, there's so much to unpack there, and I'm really excited to... That's going to be a deep dive video. That may even be its own video. But, I got to grow up with these horror hosts and things like Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which is still one of my favorite shows to this very day. I got to grow up with The Adventures of Pete and Pete. I got to grow up with all of this really unique content that shaped me. And I think that it really helped me it just helped to foster this love of pop culture. And, with horror hosts spewing out all of these facts, that's what I do now. I'm one of those people, I read about movies all the time. I have friends. I've had, no joke, just this week, I've had 5 different people ask me for recommendations. And that is so flattering to me. So flattering to me that people have asked for recommendations for like specific types of subgenres of horror, specific shows. That's so flattering. And it's because of horror hosts that I know all of that, because that's what made me want to learn. And so that is a very long-winded way of saying I just thank you to the likes of Sven Gooley and Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy the Mail Girl and Gwen Gooley and Cecil Creep and Cecil Creep, and just thank you to the people in the horror community that are so supportive of me and my videos. And just being a queer woman in this space sometimes is really hard. Just being a female movie lover sometimes is very hard, because and we've talked about this, I've talked about this in pieces before, but that's why there are some directors whose movies I just don't care about, because I was told by male counterparts that they were like the epitome of cinema, and I didn't get to make those decisions for myself, or I was told I didn't get it, or I just was not allowed to have some of these opinions, or I was told that my opinions were wrong. And so just really build up each other in the horror space, really build up these female voices, these LGBTQI plus voices, these minority groups, because that's what the horror genre is about. And it's a very supportive community. We're just gonna keep going because I have one more thing to say and then I promise I'll stop. But like I went to Dismember the Alamo last weekend. And that is, for those who don't know, it's a 4-movie horror movie mystery marathon. And so you have no clue. The presenters didn't even tell us. They talked in generalities. We did not know what the movie was until the movie started. And I talked about this with Barbie, but there's just this sense of community in that space where I was like, this is hallowed ground. This is so supportive. This is just, everybody was having such a good time and everyone was being so kind and chatting with each other. And that's just why I think things like this bother me when I see things like this that arise where people within the horror space especially are being bullied or are receiving unnecessary criticism, because I know how supportive this space can be. I went to Alamo Draft House the other night, the night before Halloween. I went and saw Scream. Queer 3-101 was presenting Scream, and then I stayed for Video Vortex, which was a bunch of 80s and 90s public access special. It was delightful, and I did it as a double feature, and there was a little bit of time in between. And when I was sitting waiting to go into the theater for Scream, multiple people walked by and complimented my outfit, were super nice. And then when I was waiting in between Scream and Video Vortex, there's a little bit of time, I had a couple people just come and sit down and talk to me on the couches. And we were just talking about how we were all there for Video Vortex. And it was just so lovely. Because one of my favorite things to do is I love going to the movies by myself. Like, I love it, and it's no offense to any of my friends. I just love going. It relaxes me. And so that can sometimes be scary, being a woman by myself out in public. And I've just had such wonderful conversations with strangers in movie theaters and like even the staff at the Draft House. And so that's why I get so bothered by things like this when I hear about people being bullied within the community, people being treated unfairly within the community, because the movie pop culture community as a whole can be supportive, but the horror community I've always found a place in. And so just in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other and just keep those things in mind before you put a mean comment on a video or you say something horrible on an Instagram comment when a new horror host is announced. Be cool, dudes. That's the end. So just to recap, this week up on the B-Movies blog, we have horror hosts, what Halloween means to me, Sarah Michelle Gellar Spotlight, a piece on election, and a piece on waitress. Bite Size Sunday will be out on our Instagram, lives there only. And the hint this time is clowns, cults, and camera shaking. Oh my. It will be one piece of content just to, like I said on Tuesday, we are going back to just the regular one content focused Bite Size Sunday. We want to start throwing in some curated curated watch lists year round. So look out for those. But it's not going to be it's going to be an October only thing where we do all of the Sundays as curated watch lists. No post Saturday. We're going back to just Monday through Friday. And new videos every Friday at 2 p.m. We probably won't do a Christmas video just because I like Christmas, but it's not Halloween. But we will have a video that week because Christmas is on a Monday this year, so we will have a video on Friday. But yeah, every Friday, 2 p.m. CST. Make sure to turn on all notifications. It will default to personalized, and I've never really understood, nor have a lot of the YouTubers I watch, understood what personalized does, but be sure if you subscribe to turn on all notifications so you get notified with every video. Well, my dogs are getting all riled up, so I think that means we need to wrap up fast. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Lisa _ Frankenstein _ which I'm so excited. If you've not watched the teaser yet, watch the teaser for Lisa Frankenstein. It's so good. I've watched it 9 times. Follow Elliot on Instagram at reading.with.red. Follow us on Instagram at bmovies channel. We post daily, and then we add to our story daily as well. Do a blog roundup on Friday. And so, yeah, I think with that, all that's left to do is fade to black.